It's real. You're not saying as you shouldn't be.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2022 experimental horror film, The Sleep, but it also comes with the tagline, Survival Horror Part 1. The film was written and directed by Devin and it stars Giselle Torres, Stephanie Pearson, Casey Leach, Madison Brunola, and Chris Cleveland. Okay. Now, the film focuses initially on a group of friends all round one of their houses talking rubbish, basically. There's been a high school shooting. They're all talking drivel, conspiracy theories, all this kind of stuff. Really quite dull conversations. Then they are seemingly drugged. Then they wake up and then they have this weird experience. They've got sensory deprivation, all this weird stuff's going off. They've got weapons they can't remove, and they've basically got to kind of survive the night. Right, that's my attempt at trying to give you some kind of synopsis for this film. Now, this film is clearly an experimental horror film. I mean, it even comes with a couple of warnings when it first comes on. Well, it comes with like a recommendation of how the director suggests you watch the film with the sound up in a darkened room, all that kind of twaddle. And then it comes with another warning kind of saying, oh, you're about to have like this really intense experience, guys, get yourself ready. And in some ways they're right, but not in the ways they think. This film for me was, I'll be honest, guys, I couldn't finish it. I think there was about maybe 25 minutes to go, and this is nearly, I think it's an hour and 48 minutes long or something like that. It's way too long. And it was just, it was giving me a headache, to be fair. And that's not because the film was scary and I was really tense and tight. It was just like an assault of the senses, and it wasn't enjoyable or fun to watch. It was like every single horror cliche or horror trope that this director had knew of or heard of or someone had told him about, everything's in this film. Everything's thrown in this film. It's loud. Everyone's screaming all the time and yelling. It's full of conspiracy theories here and there and like experimental stuff, like these guys like human experiments, and then you've got this weird psychedelic stuff that's going on that just messes with your eyes and your brain. And then they even throw a bit of Harry Potter in there as well. You know, there's like these weird wands. There's like magic coming out of these wands and stuff. And it's just like, what is going on? Please explain to me what is going on in this film. Because this film essentially is just an attempt to freak you out with screaming loudness, scares, flashing, blinking lights, and like psychedelic stuff going on. There's nothing of substance here at all. Nothing. There's no real plot or story. It's just these group of people who in themselves are annoying. They were grinding my gears because the first 10, 15 minutes of this film is these group of friends having this conversation about the state of the world and what would they do if they had the power to change things. And they're all like these annoying, entitled millennials that essentially are the problem with the world for the most part. And there's not one of them I liked. I can't think of one of them I like. So again, I'd nobody to root for when all this stuff starts going off. Not that you know what's going on. None of it makes absolutely any sense at all. The conversations cringy, and despite the deep conversations, we knew nothing about these characters. None of them are fleshed out in any way, shape or form. None of them are presented as someone that we can relate to as an audience member. And it just gets worse from there. It's just, I think it's just trying to poke and prod you, this film, when you're watching it. Is it scary? Let me know. Is it scaring you? It just constantly keeps prodding you and poking you. Doesn't let you come up for air. You know, the best horror films out there know when it's time to give you an audience member a breather, when you catch your breath. And at that point, then we're allowed to catch up and then, give us a few story points here and there so that we can kind of, all right, yeah, I get that, yeah, oh yeah. None of this. It's just like assault of the senses, constantly poking and prodding you throughout the whole thing. And it's an experiment that, unfortunately, for me, just does not work. There's loads of different ideas here. If they'd have stripped it right down to the basics, this film, there's probably a few decent ideas going on in here. If they'd have, given us characters we cared about and maybe, given us a plot or a story, there might have been the bones of something interesting here. But what we get here is just loads of different ideas vomited onto the screen in front of us. And you and an audience member kind of like pinned in your seat and almost getting bullets fired at you for the hour and a half that I lasted the film, I think it was. And basically after 30 minutes of this film, you've seen everything it's got to offer. And I remember watching this film, and after 30 minutes, I'm like, oh God, I've been watching it 30 minutes and I've got another hour and 20 minutes to go, something like that. And I'm just thinking, what on earth are they going to give me in this next hour and 20 minutes? And they didn't give me anything different from the bits that I watched. So I can't recommend this one, guys. I'm going to have to give this one a 2 out of 10. And granted, I didn't watch the whole thing. And it's very, very rare that happens with me. I just didn't see the point in finishing it, to be fair. And I'm giving it a 2 out of 10 because the production values are decent and the performances by the actors are decent. I mean, they must have been bloody exhausted making this film because all they're doing is screeching and yelling and crying throughout pretty much the whole runtime. So props to them, you know what I mean? They worked the bloody guts out here making this film, but unfortunately it's not come back and given them any reward, really. So yeah, definitely one to avoid, guys. I don't really know what to tell you about this one. It's just a real oddity, very experimental, but it just didn't work. So thank you very much for watching. I'll be back with more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.